Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special. Hello, and welcome to a special. I think we started that twice. I don't know. This red eye is beeping at me, and I don't know what's going on in the world. But thank you for joining myself here for VOW Live, a special Friday afternoon edition. Rob McCarran here. You can catch me at Shake Them Ropes on Twitter. Hopefully, if you are in the live chat room right now at voicesofwrestling.com/YouTube. Or out there listening later on demand. You can interact with us, ask questions, whatever the case may be. If you are watching on the YouTube channel right now, thanks for joining us live. Please hit that like button. Please hit the little thumbs up button right there to help support the show. I will be following along on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes with any questions that come in. Doing this quick little live show because there's so much news that happened this week that we want to get into that was happening kind of after Jeff and I did Shake Them Ropes. Some of it after Joe Lanza did Voices of Wrestling, the main podcast last night, and some of the stuff he talked about we're going to get into here on Voices of Wrestling Live as kind of a get you through the weekend type deal. So hopefully you like it. If you don't, I'm sorry that you joined us and that you did not enjoy it, but hopefully you do like it. So one of the first things, as I'm perusing the old Twitter feed here, one of the first things I wanted to get into was, of course, the big news. And we had some sad news this week. We won't open up with the sad news because who really wants to open up with super sad news? I don't. If you want to talk about any of the news, though, call in. The phone number, 260-494-3811. Or on Skype, the Skype name is Let's Say Things, all one word, LATSSAYTHINGS. 260-494-3811 is the phone number. The phone lines are open. We'll keep the phone lines open the entire show. So if you want to call in, great. If we don't get any calls, we'll just burn through the news here and the Twitter questions. We are live right now on the website. If there are any issues, if you're coming up with any audio issues, let me know so I can try and fix during the show. Some quick words of really just plugging right now. Voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop. Want to let you know, too, because if you're watching live, today only, WWE shop, save 40. If you use the code SAVE40, save 40, you get 40% off of all clearance items right now, including some of the skull caps. Winter's over. Great. Awesome. But if you want a skull cap, if you want a little, keepsake to keep warm, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, all of those things that were normally $25 are like $7 right now. So you can go to voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop, get all of that. No more. Let's start. We have a new NXT champion. Samoa Joe is the new NXT World Champion. He beat Finn Balor last night at NXT in Lowell, Massachusetts. Samoa Joe, Lowell, Massachusetts go hand in hand. This is where Samoa Joe won the TNA championship from Kurt Angle, too. So that's almost 8 years ago. Might be exactly 8 years ago about. So a lot of stuff happening. We have, if you want to call into the show via Skype, Let's Say Things is the Skype name. If you are not added as a contact already, you do have to add in as a contact before you can call in that way. But the phone lines are open, 260-494-3811. Samoa Joe, your new champion. Obviously, a lot of questions being asked once this title change happened. It shocked people that were in Lowell. There were, some people say there were hints. You can kind of get hints that something may have been coming soon. But hey, there's a TV taping next week. That's all it could have meant. Finn Balor, he was the longest reigning NXT champion. They talked about this long reign, who's next, whatsoever. There are TV tapings coming up next Thursday for NXT. So who knows what could have happened there, but they decided to do the title change on a house show, not waiting for TV. I'm sure that match will air on TV, whether it's this week or kind of in storyline, timeline-wise. It might be a couple of weeks till after the Access shows actually air. But Samoa Joe wins the NXT championship from Finn Balor. Where does Finn Balor go? Where does Samoa Joe go from here? Is Shinsuke Nakamura all of a sudden ascending into the role of number one contender? A lot of questions going on. If you have thoughts on the matter, hit us up in the chat room or on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes with what you think is going to be next for Samoa Joe, for Finn Balor. A lot of people are talking about Finn Balor coming up. Finn Balor is a master troll. He's been trolling everyone about Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows coming in, on his Twitter handle. And last night after the show, those fans who were waiting for the NXT wrestlers to come out of the building after the show got a little treat as Finn Balor walked out of the arena and quieted the crowd, all to say, I will see you on Monday. I will see you all Monday is what Finn Balor says to his adoring fans as he comes out. So, of course, will Finn Balor show up on Raw on Monday joining Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows? Will he join someone else? Will he be by himself? Who knows? Will he even appear? Because him coming out and saying, I will see you on Monday, does not mean he will actually debut on Monday's Raw. He could, but it does not mean that he will one bit. Will he end up with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows? I think that is still what's going to happen. I think at Payback, they are going to form a trio, much like how the Shield debuted at SummerSlam in Indianapolis. Or Survivor Series in Indianapolis. They came out as a trio, stuck their nose in the main event, and then all of a sudden they were just around. And early on, if you remember, they were flackies of CM Punk. They were kept away from CM Punk, but it was made clear their direction was backing up CM Punk at the behest of Paul Heyman. Could we see the Balor Club come in at the behest of Roman Reigns? Could they try to recreate that a little bit? With Finn Balor being the leader and all three of those guys doing their thing, not always, in line with Roman Reigns, but coming in as a group for Roman Reigns. Shinsuke Nakamura going to be next. We have two TV tapings. I keep wanting to say TNA because TNA is taping TV at this time too. And we're going to get to TNA and some of the silly rumors that were going around on Twitter earlier today. But they are going to have NXT TV tapings this Thursday, 6 days from now. They're also going to have some in May. And then NXT TakeOver happens on June 8th. The next TakeOver from Full Sail is happening on June 8th. So there's 2 more TV tapings, 8+ weeks of television that are still to be taped before the next TakeOver. So could Shinsuke Nakamura somehow be involved in the title tournament? Could Finn Balor get a rematch on that TakeOver before possibly departing? Or maybe he's going to stay in NXT and he's just moving on to something else. Maybe they just wanted to create some buzz here. In Kingston, Rhode Island tonight, if you're watching this live, tonight in Kingston, Rhode Island, Finn Balor and Samoa Joe is likely to happen again for the NXT title. They're likely to have a rematch. Maybe. So could they just turn the title back? Could Samoa Joe's reign be one day? We don't know. There could be a number of different things going on with this whole NXT business. But we do have a call coming in on the line, 972 area code. 972, your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, Rob, it's Danny Hernandez from Dallas.
Hi, Danny from Dallas. How are you doing?
Good. Just trying to help you out with a phone call here.
Well, thank you for calling in. You're the first call of the day. And maybe because it's a Friday afternoon, it was a surprise show. I didn't expect a whole lot of people. A lot of people will see this on demand. But I thank you, Danny, for joining in live. What's the main topic on your mind?
Well, probably the big one is Samoa Joe won the NXT title yesterday.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and apparently they did tape the show, so they should air it on this upcoming week.
Oh yeah, well, I would imagine that they do air the match for sure. I don't know if they're going to air it this week or if they're going to save it for after the Access tapings. Or they may do what ECW did when Taz won the title in a surprise at a house show. They may just kind of show a clip of it and say, hey, this is what happened. There could be a number of different possibilities. But we don't know. It could very well air this week. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the big rumors potentially Finn Balor going up to Raw, which to come up with the Gallows and Anderson, and Anderson. But I don't think it'd be the best. I think it's better for them to do vignettes. I don't know if you remember when doing the NXT Tokyo show, they're doing those vignettes with Finn Balor, in a big white space until the demon come out. I think it will better introduce him as a solo act. My question is if Finn Balor does get called up, who's Samoa Joe's first challenger? Shinsuke? Because they have been having those house show matches that apparently they've been off the wall also.
Yeah, I would think that if they're going to do, TakeOver is happening in June in Full Sail, I would think Shinsuke is the most likely bet. You do Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura. You could do a number of different things. You can do a Finn Balor rematch even if he's up on the main roster just to kind of get Finn Balor out of the way and cement Samoa Joe's reign, have the big TakeOver match. You can do a number of things. As for Finn Balor coming up, yeah, I would imagine that he comes up, and I do believe he's going to come up as a member of the group with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. You talk about coming up as a solo act. I don't necessarily know if Finn Balor is one who should come up as a solo act right away. And you look in history, and a lot of the big names, Steve Austin came up as a solo act, but outside of that, you have main guys like Triple H, you have main guys like The Rock. All these guys became popular in groups and then broke off. Roman Reigns is a guy who came up in a group and then broke off. You can even say the same for Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, even though they likely would have been just as over as they are now had they been single stars and pushed correctly. You can always push guys as a single star. I think it's easier for the crowd to know who they are as part of a group and kind of learn about them over time and then break them off when you have a little groundswell of support. I would imagine that 90% he's going to come up in a group. I don't think he's going to be on Raw on Monday. If I'm debuting Finn Balor and I'm going to debut him in that group, I'm waiting till Payback. Involve them in some way in this AJ Styles Roman Reigns main event, much like, as I mentioned before you called, Danny, the Shield debuted as henchmen of CM Punk, and the Shield did quite well for themselves. So you could do something like that, possibly even as henchmen for Roman Reigns. And I know some people are getting caught up in the misdirection of AJ Styles being involved in this Balor Club. I don't think that's going to come to pass. I don't think AJ Styles will have anything to do with it. But Roman Reigns certainly could have something to do with it. And where are you on that, Danny? Do you think Roman Reigns could be the CM Punk-like leader of this Balor Club for a couple of months?
Well, I kind of tossed it out the window when they attacked Roman Reigns on Monday. But I don't remember when the Shield debuted if they attacked Punk or not. But that would be stupid if they aligned them after they attacked them.
And that's true. That's absolutely true. And this is why when we saw it on Monday, that was the one thing giving me pause, because where you could have gone with Roman Reigns is, make it subtle to where they're not actually attacking Roman, but maybe they did something to cost him or whatever the case may be, but not actually attack him. Once you attack him, that does seem like it's a swerve for swerve's sake. If they were to back Roman, I mean, the only logical explanation would be, I had to fool everyone, and this was the only way I could do it. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with this Balor Club, but doesn't Samoa Joe winning the NXT title not only makes it really interesting for NXT, but it has immediate implications on the main roster. And even if Finn Balor doesn't come up, it still makes going into Payback more interesting, because you don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, going into Payback, are you not more intrigued, Danny, that for this show after what we saw last night and after technically what we didn't even see?
Yeah, I'm more intrigued, but I'm still not sure. Probably going to keep the title on Roman Reigns, so it's about that medium.
Yeah, it's interesting, Danny. I want to thank you so much for the call, longtime caller, Danny. We love them Texans, so thank you, Danny, for the call, and we'll talk to you later. If you want to call in, 260-494-3811, or on Skype, Let's Say Things, to talk about Finn Balor losing the NXT title to Samoa Joe. It's tough to say what is going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of different scenarios, and there's even more nowadays when scenario of guys. We had Universe of Wrestling on Twitter. Universe of Wrestling asks, what do you think of them bringing up Bayley and Balor together? Maybe Bayley being the Balor Club babe, much like Amber Gallows was the Bullet babe for the Bullet Club. Do you think Bayley could somehow be involved in the Balor Club? And really, I don't think so one bit. I don't think that she would be involved in any way, shape, or form. That just seems a little too odd of placement. But I absolutely do see Balor coming up by Payback and being introduced in this trio. We have another caller on the line. We have Hassan on the Skype line. Hassan, how are you? Hassan, are you there? We have no Hassan. Hassan, whatever's going on.
Yes, Hassan is here.
There you are, Hassan. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, man. How are you?
Hassan, we're having a little audio trouble. I don't know if that's my line or not. I don't know what's going on. But Hassan, what's the main topic on your mind today?
I think I have the issue from my part. Anyway, what's going to ask about Apollo? Do you think it was the right time to move him to the main roster or not? And what about the other NXT mover to the main roster? Would you give the best chance to shine?
Alrighty, Hassan, I'm going to drop a line just because it was cutting in and out, but I want to thank you for the question. I mean, as far as Finn Balor and other NXT guys going up to the main roster, do I think it's the right time for Finn? Yeah, I think you've done everything he's going to do in NXT. They obviously didn't want to work on his promos too much. They did a lot of backstage vignettes and video packages, but not really on-screen promos with Finn Balor. So they either just gave that up as a lost cause or thought he was doing well with it. So that's a little interesting. but it's easier to do promos as part of a group if he comes up. Look at Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns had to say like one line and then his believe that. And that he did that for a year coming up in the Shield. And Roman Reigns can talk. He doesn't get the best material all the time, but Roman Reigns can certainly go out there and feel somewhat comfortable on the mic. So I think Finn Balor, the time is coming up. There's not so much more for him to do in NXT. The longer he's in NXT, his value decreases. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to decrease his value. You want to, keep momentum going. Samoa Joe, I don't think he's coming up. I think if you're wondering about Samoa Joe or Shinsuke Nakamura for that matter, if you are waiting for Shinsuke or Joe to come up in 2016, you should probably focus on something else because I don't think it's happening. I don't think those two guys are coming up. Bayley, if they started her kind of in the same path as how they started her in NXT, don't bring her up as this, former champion and this underdog who did well. Bring her up as an underdog. Bring her up as a hanger-on, someone who, wants the chance in WWE and maybe goes with the storyline of, hey, she wasn't brought up because they didn't think she could hang, and maybe she doesn't hang for a while, and maybe she gets fans behind her and behind her and behind her, and eventually she wins doing the underdog role. Sami Zayn is already up. He's kind of still a new call-up, so we're waiting for him to really shine through, and I think doing a singles match with Kevin Owens at Payback is a really good idea. And an idea why I didn't mind the IC title ladder match at WrestleMania. I really didn't mind that they were putting all those guys together at WrestleMania because you let them all get their WrestleMania spot, and we knew the singles match was coming. Yes, was WrestleMania more exposure for a Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens singles match? Yeah, but this world isn't perfect. Them going in Chicago, which will be a much better atmosphere for them too. Much better atmosphere. Doing a singles match on this pay-per-view where you don't have to worry about John Cena and The Rock and Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair and all these guys, having spotlights on the show. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn can go out there and shine on Payback and do much better. So it's working out great. It's working out how I thought it would. Why I did not care that they were in a multi-man match at WrestleMania. They could always do a singles match at WrestleMania in the future too. I mean, these guys are going to fight forever against each other, so there's no rush for it. There's really no rush for it. Danny Hernandez says he did also want to add on the call, rest in peace to China. Obviously, the sad news this week is that China, Joan Lore, died this week at the age of 46 after having, some, private and much in public issues with, her perception, drugs. There were a whole bunch of stuff going on. And, you always hope people that have those issues will get themselves straight, and not everyone does. And it was a bad week for wrestling fans who lost China, and a bad week for those who really wanted to see her get one more shot with WWE or in some, going in the Hall of Fame. Not so much because the Hall of Fame matters, but because you want to see these people recognized for their past work, I think is the main issue. We have another call coming in on the Skype line. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hey there. Hi, this is Aaron from Maryland. Calling over there, shaking ropes.
Hi, Aaron from Maryland. Thank you. Yes, so your main topic today in pro wrestling as we head into the weekend.
Yes. Over there, for my main topic over there is like proving the theory about there for where to go over there with Samoa Joe moving forward in NXT, because there with Balor being called up there possibly soon in the main roster, maybe soon at Payback. But recently over there the theory that do you think that they should do Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura at the next NXT TakeOver special because they need to have a high-profile match to sell out that crowd down over there for that full sale.
Oh God, no, they don't. First of all, the tickets are already sold out. They could main event the Drifter versus Baron Corbin, and there's going to be a sellout crowd at that arena. Will people watch it on the network? Probably not as much. No. Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe is definitely one way they can go. Whether it's the right way, I don't know if there's only one right way. You can do Samoa Joe. We had a question on Twitter too. We had Josh asking us, with Samoa Joe winning the NXT title, should he raise a new babyface star? Should there be a new babyface star that goes up against him for the NXT championship versus someone like Shinsuke Nakamura? And that's another way you can go too. You can have someone who's on the rise. Apollo Crews is gone, so obviously he's not the one who's going to do it now. And I don't necessarily know with who is on that roster, who could it be? I don't think you push No Way Jose up to that spot anytime soon.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'll say at TakeOver. I'll let you go ahead here in a second. At TakeOver, I think they will do Shinsuke and Samoa Joe if they don't do a Finn Balor rematch. Because even if Finn Balor goes up to the main roster, he can come back for one more takeover. Sasha Banks did that. It happens. I think that's what they'll do. I don't know if it's the only right way, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt there, but I'm just saying it's like that the only reason for why I believe over there is we're saying not necessarily say the right way to do it, but with the WWE soon touring over there in Japan, that they need over there for another high profile match over there to main event along with the tours, and I believe that you need to do over there with Joe and Nakamura, because over there really get behind Shinsuke Nakamura there, and also too that therefore do you think possibly soon that Bayley might get called over there onto the main roster? Because yes, I thought everybody thought over there with Bayley losing the title to Asuka, that we thought over there for soon after NXT Takeover Dallas, we thought that she would come along over there for on the main roster soon.
Yeah, as for Bayley, I don't think she's going to be on the main roster before SummerSlam. I can see the Raw after SummerSlam or sometime between SummerSlam and Survivor Series her coming up. I don't think it's going to be before then. There's just no place for her. And we have Emma and Becky Lynch as a program right now. We have Charlotte versus Natalya as a program. We have Sasha Banks still waiting in the mix. I just don't think there's a place for her right now. And with all the new influx of talent, you don't need her to come up to the main roster right now. Her value right now is best served being in NXT. And I don't think losing the title to Asuka was necessarily a sign that she was coming up soon. It was a sign that it was a babyface champion where the story had kind of ended. The story was her getting the title and then supplanting that title reign, and she did that. So you can move on kind of to a new championship, and you can even do the Kazuchika Okada role where she's this former champion who was an underdog and finally reached the top of the mountain and then fell again. How is she going to recover and go after the title one more time against Asuka, who's seemingly unbeatable? So that's a big story in itself. As for Shinsuke Nakamura, you do not have to make him the NXT champion to go tour Japan. You do not even have to put him in title matches to go tour Japan. Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be beloved no matter what, and he's going to do well for the numbers no matter what. And it looks like that the Hawaii show on that tour might actually be the WWE Network special. It doesn't look like they're going to go live from Japan this year. It looks like it'll actually be the return to Hawaii that will be the network special. So in that respect, Shinsuke Nakamura just being on the card is a pretty big deal. They don't have to put a title match on that show.
Yeah. Also, too, with the added in there with the NXT tag division, it's just being sucked dry. There was the call for Enzo and Big Cass and the VOW villains being called there. Do you see over there a possibility of the Mighty O'Neil there being pushed heavily now over there on NXT, since NXT needs another big team over there on the roster?
Oh, yeah. I see Mikey Nichols, Shane Haste. I see them and whatever names they're going to use on the main roster. I definitely feel like they're going to come in possibly before this takeover. Like they could be the next challenge to American Alpha. We have the TV taping on Thursday, and then we have the TV taping in May before NXT takeover. So I could see them coming in right now, right away. If they don't go with a rematch of the Revival, they could possibly do a Revival rematch on one of these TVs and then have the new team come in. It's not like they need to be training, day after day and week after week down there at the Performance Center. I could see them coming up to TV. WWE.com put the article about the Mighty Don't Kneel up on their website. So that's another sign that they really are going to do something with these guys at some point. They're not coming in just to languish in the main PC classroom for the next months after months. So yeah, they're probably going to come in. I could see them very well being on that new takeover coming on June 8th. But I want to thank you for the call and thank you for the interesting topics. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are focusing on this NXT news of Samoa Joe, focusing on the different names, the different placement. And it's really an exciting time. It's an exciting time for everywhere. Last year was all the talk about, okay, who can go where, who might leave, where are the Young Bucks going to go? This year, it's all happening. This year, we're seeing the new placement of talents on the different brands. We're seeing all of this new stuff. We're seeing where the guys are going and how the companies they leave are going to recover from that. New Japan has a new influx of talent. WWE, the main roster. Look at your main event picture. AJ Styles in the main event picture. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Cesaro back being a big deal. No John Cena, no Seth Rollins, no Randy Orton, no Triple H as a regular. It is a brand new world in WWE, and because of all this influx of talent, it's a brand new world in NXT because you have Shinsuke Nakamura coming in, a new NXT champion, and you have to replace the guys who are lost. I think the tag division will do quite well. I don't think that Enzo and Cass at this point were a huge loss. They had done everything they were going to do. And the Vaudevillains, honestly, had run their course. I'm kind of glad that I don't have to watch the Vaudevillains as much because I don't watch SmackDown as much as I watch NXT. So I'm glad I don't really have to see them. So what are you going to do there? We have people in the chat room. I want to thank everyone for joining us in the chat room here. We have Danny H saying that Samoa Joe could be Hideo Itami's attacker. How would that be for a kickoff program, right? Hideo Itami coming back and going up against Samoa Joe. That would be a pretty cool idea. Samoa Joe, obviously, I think that was on the takeover before Joe debuted, was it not? Or was it on the exact one? I think it was on the one before. So maybe they just say that Joe was kind of there around before he even showed up on TV. That would be interesting. And Hideo Itami, that would be certainly an interesting program. Hideo Itami and Samoa Joe. We have Barus D. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm sure I am. He says, wow, a VOW live show at a time when I can actually see it. Yes, a fun afternoon Friday show. If you're on the East Coast, you can see it. If you're in Europe, you can see it right now. What is it? 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock there in England and whatnot. So yeah, thank you for joining us from wherever you are here on VOW Live. I appreciate those who have called in. I appreciate those who are watching live. And if you are watching on demand, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to Voices of Wrestling already. Help us out there. Want to mention that if you're not following me on Twitter, go follow me right now. The link is in the description. Shake Them Ropes. Shake Them Ropes on Twitter. Subscribe, share, like these videos, and check out our past episodes on the Voices of Wrestling YouTube channel. I host a podcast called Shake Them Ropes every Tuesday. You can catch the Shake Them Ropes feed at voicesofwrestling.com/STR. If you missed it before, 40% off on all clearance items on WWE Shop right now. Voicesofwrestling.com/WWE Shop. Go get those Finn Balor and Kevin Owens skull caps, those winter skull caps right now. Normally $20 or only like $8 right now. So go catch that deal. And be sure to go watch, or read, I should rather say. Go read our fun one-day only event from last week called Listicle Mania. It was the brainchild of me and Sean Flynn over there at Voices of Wrestling. Listicle Mania, we went full blog style, full BuzzFeed style, while our boss, Rich Craich, was out getting hitched. So go check that out. Support that at voicesofwrestling.com. Aaron wants to say in the chat room here, Gargano and Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano would be backups if TMDK aren't there. Gargano and Ciampa were a tag team again on NXT TV. They could be very well going for the tag team. For those who were in Lowell, Massachusetts last night, who saw the Finn Balor Samoa Joe title change, Tommaso Ciampa wrestled a singles match with Chris Gerard, the former Biff Busick, which many people are raving about being the match of the night. They did a PWG independent style match there in Lowell, Massachusetts last night. Tommaso Ciampa and Chris Gerard back there, kind of in their home in the Northeast. So yeah, I'm really interested to see when Chris Gerard comes up, if he comes up in this Cruiserweight series or debuts separately from that. One note on the Global Cruiserweight series, Noam Dar, who was confirmed to be in the tournament by Triple H, is now being put in a qualifying match. As I suspected, as we've talked about on Shake Them Ropes, Triple H named a bunch of names who were going to be in the tournament and didn't give a damn about qualifying matches and spoiling results. So Zack Sabre Jr. is going to be in the tournament. He's going to win his qualifying match. Noam Dar is going to be in the tournament. He's going to win his qualifying match. So those will be names in the tournament. We had on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes, we had someone comment in that Joe Lanza kind of started talking about this on a large scale in the Voices of Wrestling podcast, but New Japan newcomer and currently on hiatus with CMLL. There's a wrestler out there by the name of Kama Itachi, that a lot of you are likely familiar with. He's a big junior prospect for New Japan Pro Wrestling, currently on excursion. He's been wrestling in CMLL. He's had the big series last year with Dragon Lee, which if you're familiar with Kamatachi, it's likely from that series, honestly. Kamatachi is now based in the Northeast of the United States, and he's going to work U.S. independence. And what looks likely is that he's going to do the Takaki Watanabe gimmick here of working ROH as a regular on excursion. So Kamatachi is likely coming into Ring of Honor. So if you're a fan of him, check out Ring of Honor. It's likely he's coming in. I know Matt Taven is kind of teasing this new kingdom that he has coming in. We'll see if Kama Itachi might be part of that or if he might be on a separate plane. New Japan is about ready to kick off their road to Dontaku. That starts, I think, tonight, actually, or tomorrow. But the road to Dontaku is going to start, and we're on the headline to their next pay-per-view, which only happens, next week. So New Japan Pro Wrestling, coming off of Invasion Attack, keeps going strong. If you want to call in, final chance to call in to our show, 260-494-3811, or on Skype, let's say things. Joe Lanza has more on the Kama Itachi situation. If you want to know all of the scoops on Kama Itachi, go listen to the Voices of Wrestling podcast, which was released this morning. Go to voicesofwrestling.com. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, wanted to make mention of this. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, their debut match has been announced. WWE has announced that Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson will wrestle the Usos on Monday's Raw from Hartford, Connecticut. So if you've been waiting for the actual in-ring debut of Guns and Gallows, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are wrestling on Raw this Monday. Could this be the next step in whatever is happening with Finn Balor? Could it be the next step in whatever is happening with a Balor Club? Or could it be the next step in whatever the hell Guns and Gallows are actually doing? The first week they come out and attack the Usos. We think they might be part of the tag division. Then they start the program with AJ Styles and Roman Reigns, thinking we may see them as kind of a group or somewhat involved in the world title situation, even for a short period of time, or maybe involved just with AJ Styles. So there's a lot of different questions there. We're going to find out the next chapter here on Raw as Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson wrestle on Raw. The last thing I wanted to mention, the TNA tapings are ongoing. Earlier I was having mouth contusions here as I kept wanting to say TNA instead of NXT TV. TNA is taping TV. They taped the show last night. They're taping today. They're taping a couple of more days here in Orlando. And what I found interesting, this was my big takeaway, these 5 names. I don't have the full list of names, but guys like Marshe Rocket, Cherry Bomb, the Legionnaires from NXT, and Pepper Parks. Actually, those are the 5 names. These guys were promoted as new signings of TNA on the Twitter, on their website, the website that's a big joke. These were purported to be new signings of them. They were hyping them up. And what happens last night? They don't appear anywhere on the TV tapings. Maybe they just want to wait until they clear up some different things and work them in. But when you only tape 5 days a week for a whole month and a half of television and they don't work one of those tapings, that seems a little bit odd that you would hype them up as new signings and then boom, they're not going to appear for 2 months down the road. Joe Lanza on the chat room says, Rob, don't know if you covered it, but we now have 100% confirmation that the Killer Elite Squad is in Japan and not Orlando. That was the silly rumor from these TNA tapings, perfectly timed because I was just about to talk about this. The silly rumor from today's TNA tapings was that Lance Archer and Davey Boy Smith Jr., the Killer Elite Squad from Pro Wrestling Noah, were at the TNA tapings in Orlando today. And that's just not true. They had a booking yesterday in Japan for Noah. They have a booking in just about 12 hours from now in Noah. They are not at the TNA tapings. They are not coming into TNA right now. They are full-time with Pro Wrestling Noah. They are not in Orlando at the moment. And that is coming straight from the Killer Elite Squad themselves. It just wasn't going to happen. So that was something of a small rumor that kind of made its way through Twitter today. Some people in our chat room, Hassan is talking about who might win the Global Cruiserweight Series. He's talking about La Sombra or Zack Sabre Jr. I almost guarantee it's going to be one of those two guys. Joe Lanza made some great points in the Voices of Wrestling podcast that it would be a little odd for Andrade, whatever his name is actually going to end up being on the main roster, by the way, because we don't know what his WWE name will be yet. A little odd for an absolute newcomer to come in and win the Global Cruiserweight Series, who doesn't have a lot of this independent hype right now because he's been in the Performance Center for many months right now and hasn't been on television anywhere. That is actually my pick to win, though. I believe that the former La Sombra will win the Global Cruiserweight Series, but Zack Sabre Jr. is hot right now. He's coming in. He's going to win the qualifying match. They're going to have a couple of pieces of footage of him already. I think he's a good number 2 to win. I don't believe Kota Ibushi will win. I think he's going to put on a good show. He's probably going to lose to either La Sombra or Zack Sabre Jr. I would go out on a limb right now and say that the winner of the Global Cruiserweight Series, the winner of that match, will have beaten Kota Ibushi somewhere in the tournament. the winner of the whole series is going to be the one who had beaten Kota Ibushi. That is what I will actually make as a prediction right now, not even knowing what the matchups are going to be or whatever the case is going to be as far as that. But that is the news from the TNA's tapings. They're not hiring the Killer Elite Squad, and the people they have hired aren't even on the shows right now. Maybe that'll change today. We'll see. Ring of Honor, the big news is they got Global Wars coming up. They've announced many of the matches. You can go to ROHWrestling.com to see some of the New Japan contingents matches here coming up at the Global Wars pay-per-view. But the main event is Colt Cabana versus Jay Lethal. We talked a little bit about that on Shake Them Ropes this week. Again, follow me on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes. Go and follow Joe at Lanza Unfiltered too for his podcast. And thank you for coming in to give the confirmation that Killer Elite Squad will not be there in Orlando today. It would just be odd. Yeah, and they've announced some good eight-man tag, some good matches for the Global Wars pay-per-view, so check that out. I think that is going to be it for this surprise edition of Voices of Wrestling Live. I want to thank those who called in, actually more callers than I actually anticipated because this was a weird time. I know if we were going live with some other live wrestling podcasts. So it was a fun experiment. I thank you for joining us. And if for you watching on demand, be sure to hit the like video if you like it and follow me on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes. Follow the website at Voices Wrestling on Twitter, voicesofwrestling.com. Again, thanks everyone for joining us today. We will see you all later on VOW Live and Shake Them Ropes at voicesofwrestling.com. So long for today.